Hello, and thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Big Talk from the Small House. And I'm here today with Jen Greenwald from from Kundalini.
Jedi, yeah, you do call me Jedi, but it's Kundalini, Jai Yoga.
Jai Yoga Studios. Jen and I have been doing tons of work together over the years, right?
Yeah,
So
we've come together in many different ways, and from kids to spiritual things to it all.
I'm very excited that you're here today so we can talk about some of the things that we've done in the past, but mostly, where we're going now into the future and how people might want to get in step with what's going on. So
yeah, the elevating consciousness. That's the step to get into.
You know what I like about when I watch your videos on Instagram, and you're prolific, by the way. I've said that to you before. I mean, I know there's social influencers out there that will go, they're doing 5 videos a day, or they're not missing a day.
I'm doing maybe 5 a month if I'm lucky.
A month, yeah. And what I love about your consistency is that you're really giving these instructions to people that you've received from another source. I want to say it's Ravi and the teachings of Kundalini Yoga, about how people can start improving their lives exactly where they are right now. I love that about your videos. You're constantly pumping people up with positive ways to look at things.
Thank you. Yeah, if that's what's being received, then I'm delivering what that intention is to to uplift. I mean, that's what I think all of us are meant to do, is to uplift. But some people get drowning in their densities and their stories, and they need a little lift. And if we can all do that for each other, then greatness.
So would you say that Kundalini, what are the major contributing factors that make it so effective?
Wow. Is this what we're going to talk about all podcasts?
Not the whole podcast. I'm just like, what's
because
coming to me.
This could go deep. So in a nutshell, what are you asking me? What makes Kundalini elevate people? What's behind it? What's the
like why did you fall in love with it? What was the passion that you latched onto that makes you want to be as prolific as you are in teaching and holding these events and the things we've done up here on the farm?
Yes. I mean, for me, the very first time I did Kundalini, I knew something was different. And, the shortened story is I had just had a child. Yoga was something that always brought me back to me. I'm home amongst all the whatever's going on outside of me, and uncomfortable as the outside world is. Mm-hmm. When I would do yoga, I was comforted because I was home. And then, you're trying to do life and you're trying to be at home. And a lot of times life takes over. That's where that density takes over. And eventually I had kids. And when I had my first child, I was like, I couldn't find my way home. I was like, what happened? Yeah. And so I ended up ordering a yoga video. I had heard of Kundalini, but I hadn't done Kundalini. And that video I ordered happened to be, unbeknownst to me, a Kundalini video. So I remember putting this video in and doing this Kundalini, which is, it's yoga, but it looks and feels more powerfully, looks different than what we think westernized yoga to look like. And I'm doing this stuff and I'm like, is this even yoga? I think I even stopped the video like 2 times to be like, what am I doing? What is this? But it was so moving, so powerful. I felt so great. I felt like not only was I home, I was back to my super home. That I was like, this is all I'm going to do. And that's why I share it. That's why I have been with Kundalini for, I was really into it for like 17 years now, I guess. Yeah. Is that what we're moving into? And I've trained in it and share it.
So would you say that, from what I understand about yoga in general, is it's supposed to, it was invented to prepare the person for meditation? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's many things, but that's one thing that 100% it does. So that you can have a deeper meditation.
Physically prepare the body, so it's not like wanting to go in 20 different directions, and it's able to better calm the mind down. It prepares the body
bring things into harmony, bring things into balance, get the body syncing up, the subtle bodies communicating with one another. When all that is happening, you can just be. You're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're going into the infinite now, right? And we talk a lot about the infinite now. And there's so much to discover in the infinite now. So yeah, you got to prepare the mind body vehicle to go now.
Yeah. And then so some of the techniques in your classes are typically how long?
A class is typically an hour and 15 minutes.
And you have you've built quite the following, right? You're in multiple studios now. You're not just in Madison.
So I'm in Madison is the primary. That's the home. That's the primary spot. But I do have a place in New Haven, a location in New Haven that on Mondays I'm there. And I'm actually doing a kundalini training right now because I'm one person doing this thing, and I can't be in two locations. I mean, I could, I guess, but I also want to live life and be a mom and all the other things. I'm a householder, right? It's consciousness is great, but I got to live my life. So yes,
we were talking yesterday to Dan, and we were talking about the different people that we've brought up here over the years to the Hill, the Blue Star, and made productions with them, and just extracted the ultimate the most interesting part, the nectar of what they had to offer, and then now we have gotten married and have kids, and we're on this domestic red road. So it's it absolutely. Is a path. They say it's not the same path as if you're meditating monk in a cave.
It's actually the more elevated path, because it looks like the monk in the cave, doing his meditations for 48 hours at a time. That seems like that remote, off the grid, austere way to live. Could be difficult, but this is the more difficult. That's more elevated, but this is the more difficult path. And the more difficult path, you're like, I'm going to elevate this, right?
Well, I would imagine the more difficult part of the path is that you don't have the luxury to just sit in contemplation. You actually have to go to work, pay the bills. You have kids in different sports or
right.
or
but in
activities.
Tantra, which I guess I could say all yoga is, but Kundalini is absolutely a tantric path. It's the polarity of opposites, right? And we know in the polarity of opposites, the further you go in one direction, the further you can go in the other direction. So the further you go into difficulty, you have the potential to go further into the elevation. Yeah.
So the trick is not to get caught up in time. One of the things that you see that there's Tibetan prayer flags, and you'll see people flying them in the wind. And in the beginning, before I knew about any kind of understanding of Buddhism or what those flags meant, I just thought they were, oh, look at those colorful party flags. It's like they belong at a tequila bar or something. But as I went further
Tequila
down
bar.
that, I'll have another one.
Yeah. Which is part of the path, that's
right.
the householder path. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's
Go ahead.
okay.
So, yeah, tequila bar, prayer flags.
No, the prayer flags, the impermanence. So they represent impermanence. What I love about the understanding behind the meaning, the metaphor behind prayer flags is that they're meant to break down. They look shoddy, like they're all falling apart in the wind, and they fade in color. And then they have all this Tibetan writing on them, which are prayers, right? And so as the flag disintegrates, it blows the prayers for. They say it's like 100 or 200 miles from wherever the wind is blowing. So I think the reason why I bring that up is because when you're doing the householder path, the domestic red road, like most people that I know I don't know too many. I know one or two high lamas. I don't know many. But the trick is not to get caught up in this is never going to end. Oh my God, this is my path. This is like I gotta.
Well, that's the story. That's getting caught up in the story. So how do we live the story, but be the observer in the story at the same time? And, you ask, like, kind of coming back to the first question you asked me, these videos I make, and I would love to make more, maybe I'll get there. But, to keep reminding people that you're not your story. The householder path gets really dense. But when you realize...
We're tied to a much greater thing, and that's
infinity. Yes.
Yeah.
When you can be like, oh, this is just a blip in one of the lives of many, or one of the perspectives of bazillions that are out there. I can shift this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, the more that this energy of awareness starts to come online, and you know, it's like anything else, it's a muscle. It's like you need to exercise that perception in order to manifest a feeling. It comes with a feeling. The more, it just feels like there's as equally as challenging as life seems to be getting, just turn on the news or read the paper. It's in its opposite, like you were saying, is equally feeling opportunistic and bubbling up with, are you feeling this?
Yeah, and I am feeling it, but I do agree. There's absolutely a, you know, awakening going on. You know, and we could say it's been going on our whole lives. I mean, do I say how old we are? We're in our 50s. You know, it's been going on our whole life.
35.
You're 35. You look great. But yeah, you know, this awakening's been going on. I mean, it's been going on, like, this is what it is to be human. We're here to evolve and expand consciousness. I could say it's been squashed in recent centuries. And I feel like we are 100% on a time in the planet where it's starting to, like, move at fast speeds. The awakening is moving at fast speeds. But, you know, there's also going to be people who double down and they're like, I'm not looking. I'm not looking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they put their blinders on and they're just going for it.
Yeah.
So my question is, you know, I've taken several of your classes before, and we've also done programs together where we've done mantra and didgeridoo workshops. Those were amazing. I love.
They're really good. Actually, I've had people ask, like, you know, you got to bring that live music back with Pete, so we got to do that soon. But
well, we could pull up some footage of that and put that in here.
Do you have footage?
I do. I think I do. Yeah, with that part where we were at the pizza oven and we were just doing that. Okay,
there's that. Yes, I thought you meant like.
Well, we have programs that we're in the process of pulling together too. So that's going to be the summer of 2024. I'm looking forward to bringing that back. But can you talk?
I'm looking forward to summer. But go ahead.
Can you speak a little bit on mantra and how that how that helps?
Oh, mantra
and what it does.
That's another conversation that we could just go off on for you know, days. Mantra is so powerful. You know, mantra is I'm like, where do we begin? It's vibration, right? So we live in a vibrationary world, and when you're speaking mantra, that begins to vibrate within you. You can think of mantra as these ascended masters who gave us certain messages that we use in mantra now. In their most ascended state, they were receiving the divine. And they spoke these words of the divine. They're high divine sounds. So it's almost like a cheat code, like for us to be able to get these sounds and begin to vibrate them, to get to where they were in their level of oneness, ascension, whatnot. And that's one of the, you know, powers of mantra. When we chant mantra, and again, I'm speaking from kundalini, the perspective of kundalini always, as well as speaking from the perspective of kundalini mantras, because there's a lot of mantras in kundalini, as we know. There's so much going on in the body. The tip of the tongue hits the top palate of the mouth over and over and over and over, repetitively, depending on the mantra that you're speaking. And there's, I think it's 84 meridian points at the top palate of the mouth. So that begins to create a rhythm in the body, opening up a consciousness in the body. And, you know, when also you're working with mantra, you are affecting the field that you live in, especially if you take on a mantra and do it day in and day out. Like, I'm actually right now just started a 40-day meditation with a specific mantra, particular mantra that I'm doing with a group. There's a group of us. We do it online. It's free. Like, I put it out to the Jai community to join. I think we're like day 4, day 5. We started New Year's Day. What's today? I don't even know what day it is, but whatever day it is, we're that.
5th, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So we're 4 or 5 days in, and it's really amazing to, like, have this group come together at 6 a.m. and we vibrate mantra together. And in this short amount of time, I'll give you an example. It affects your field. So this particular mantra we're doing is a prosperity mantra, and I go to Staples a lot, obviously, for my business to run things off. I'm doing a training right now, get the manuals printed, whatnot. And I I had to go yesterday. I've been needing to go all week, but I had gone yesterday. And right before I went, a friend stopped by and gave me a gift card to Staples. You know, and I was like, wow, thank you. You know, so it's like you put these things in your field and then things come to you. That's the power of mantra.
Right.
And I hear this again and again and again and again and again from so many people that when they begin to work with mantra, their physical world changes, gifts show up, situations show up, opportunities show up. Yeah. It's all vibrationary.
So you know what I find fascinating about mantra is, and it's very similar to playing a musical instrument, especially a didgeridoo, because of the vibration that's in there. That's why I think mantra and chanting work so well. But what it's doing is, just from a layman's perspective, I feel like what it's doing is the vibration. Plus, you got to focus when you play a didgeridoo. You have to focus. It's a breath, exhale, then you have to sniff. And I have there'll be a part on the program where I actually teach. You know, I have a series of teaching how kids love to learn. I can teach a third grader how to play.
Have
a didgeridoo.
you ever really taught someone to play didgeridoo? Because that's like a breathwork situation. That's like, whoa.
Yeah,
I mean, have you ever had anyone pull off and?
I've had classes.
Kids.
When I was in Australia, I took a class for a week. Oh, have I ever personally taught?
Yeah, no, I know you do. Yeah, have you ever taught anyone to play? Surely you have.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Hundreds, and actually probly thousands of kids through the DigiQuest
But
program.
they've learned it. That's what I'm saying. They figured out the breath work. Because that's crazy.
They didn't learn circular breathing. I've never stuck with a student for so long to teach them how to circular breathe, but I could teach a third grader how to play.
Blow through it.
To make it turn on, to vibrate in 3 minutes. I can teach anybody. Okay. But then that's the fun part. The fun part is, actually I should say the deep part. It's deep, relaxing, it's fun, it feels great as you're taking this huge breath and then you hold it and then you have to let it out really slowly, like when you let the air out of a balloon. You don't want to just dump the air out of the balloon. You fill it up, a big balloon, and then you slowly let the air seep out, and that's how you do it with your lungs when you're blowing into a didgeridoo. Then it's a right. And so what it's doing two things. It's forcing the player to be.
It's breath work. It's breath work. It's pranayamic work.
And then it's a vibration that is audible. Vibrational. It's audible. It's not. It's you can feel it, and it really does captivate people. So when much similar to the mantra, there's something going on there, and I think as far as I can understand, what's happening is it is shifting from an intellectual perspective, like I'm thinking about things, and then it's moving it into an experiential where you're feeling yourself in the room.
And I'm gonna even like say that in a different way, and put it, to maybe in that yogic sense of what's working, and yogic being, what's happening in the physical, what's happening in the infinite. That's what yoga is, right? The yoking of these two aspects of what we are. We're earth, we're ether. So what's happening is, as you were saying, like the mind intellect, which is more of the earth part of us. It's not going, and it ends when this thing ends. It's allowing the subtle part of who we are, because vibration affects the subtle body. So that the subtle body really becomes more powerful when it's vibrating, right? It's awakening up, it's vibrating. And so it's able to take the driver's seat in this body vehicle, mind, spirit, body thing that's moving forward. Right. So it's a vibrational awakening.
And so when we're in that state of vibrationally, it's raising our vibrational frequency. Is that when we're better able to see the bigger picture?
Oh God, yeah.
Is that what we're trying to do? Is that the objective? So we're not so trapped in our story, because I feel like, to me, that's what makes me most excited about life at this point, is not what I'm trying to make it so much, although the manifestation of big talk from the little house is a very exciting endeavor, but not so much because it's like this new thing that we're doing, but because it's
brought it through.
Well, it's a place that we can channel these teachings.
And what I'm thinking now is it's exciting. Okay, well, let's just take a step back. It's exciting because you've been talking about it for so long. It has been in its vibrationary state for so long. You kept it alive in that vibrationary state for so long. And when we do that and we put a lot of passion and more vibration behind it, then it begins to become a physical thing.
Yeah.
So you created it, and then through it, you're going to create we can cuss on here. So freaking much. I almost said the F-bomb.
You could say
whatever. I can say it. I'm going to be authentic. So I can say we can fucking create so much.
Yeah, man.
you know.
Yeah. And I think, as we grow this, and this is our first of hopefully many interviews that we're going to do and chats with each other.
I'm here for it. I love this room. I told you when I walked in, I'm like, I'm going to quit my job and be here all the time.
It's awesome. I mean, and I really feel like what this room is speaking to me is to how I can best extract the information from my guests that can explain to me the way that you're vibing at higher levels.
Yeah,
and, this is
and then
that
hopefully impart that
do.
to everybody. Invite everybody in here.
Yeah.
But like,
well, we are right now. If they're watching this online.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
We're all here together. Truly.
So full circle. Kundalini yoga is, and specifically mantra, like didgeridoo playing, has a way to vibrate the body into higher states of higher frequencies, which allows us to have a bigger view of the bigger picture.
Have a bigger view. Have more possibilities. Like, get out of the rut. Of
our stories.
Wherever you feel stuck, like, that is so not true. Like, it happens, and when it happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you. We get stuck in ruts. The maybe difference is between me and someone else who stays in a rut, or you and someone else that stays in a rut, is you have tools to get out of that rut. And those tools are vibrationary, and whether that be through the didgeridoo, mantra, breath work, there's
helping other people, huge.
Being of service.
Yeah, because
that's what we're here to do.
One of the things, I don't remember exactly where I heard it, but what they were saying was life is, to simplify it, life is a gift, right? And how we choose to live it is our gift back to the giver.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm even going to say too, like, this, so many things can just pop in your head. But as you said that, what popped in my head is there's a yogic teaching that, when we come into these bodies, which is a gift, as you're saying, an absolute gift, like, we're given just so much prana, so much of this life force to work with. And then when that life force depletes, then, we go back. Or if something cuts that life force off, we go back. But wouldn't it be amazing to go back with more life force? Like, with more prana, because you're
right. I've always said that. I feel like this is,
to be in the gift and bring more gifts back. Like, that'd be amazing.
Well, yeah, because what I'm understanding you saying is that the vibration isn't over, which I believe when this life's over, we just vibrate into another form until eventually we choose not to come back and become one with it all, right? Yeah. But until then, I believe, and we spoke about this in 2 podcasts ago, we were talking about how the mission isn't to win the game here. It's just to vibe at the highest level you can and as many levels that you can become aware of. Yeah. And we can do that as domestic red roaders ourselves, people that have jobs that have to come and go and have relationships, is to put the practice in daily. It's kind of like if you're going to build a muscle, you have to, I was just saying this, you have to lift the weight to get strong. You can't just go, I wish I had muscles, but without doing the work.
Yeah,
and you have comprehensive ways, and yoga, as is a comprehensive outlet for interjecting, higher vibration into that daily grind, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Kundalini does. It brings you right into the body, right into the now, right into vibration. It's, there's so many ways to explain Kundalini, but one is it directly gives you the experience of your soul, which is vibration. So yes, you come into direct relationship with the opportunity to cultivate that relationship with vibration, with your soul, with bliss.
I love it. And that's what we're going to try to focus on with Big Talk from the Small House, is different ways and different colors and different crayons, of... You can do what you do. You can be a bricklayer. You can be a hedge fund guy. You can be a kite
and
maker.
Be elevated, chop wood, carry water. Like before the Enlightenment, after the Enlightenment. Whatever you're doing, you're doing. It doesn't matter what you are. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're not our stories. The stories are just like the car that we're driving in. Yeah. But the energy field inside, once you start to see this, it's like, I want to talk to yoga instructors. I want to talk to, shamans. I want to talk to magicians. I want to talk to anybody who has that level of, hey, there's something different here. You go to a party a lot of times, and it's tough to
Yeah,
get
and
into a
it's,
conversation
and it's
with
not
people.
even the shamans or the magicians. I mean, like you said, it could be the gas station attendant. It could be the
Absolutely.
bank teller. It could be the like literally. It's
When
part
I
of-
say shaman
yeah.
and magician, when I our kundalini instructors, I
Yeah.
feel like those are the people that are actually onto it and focusing on the techniques to cultivate
the good
it.
ones, the real ones, the authentic ones. But I guess where I'm going with this is
Everybody's a player. I'm not saying
and
nobody's
some
not a player,
people
but
in
it's just
but they're also playing in the most unassuming costumes. Like you can find magic. Now here's the thing: you could also find kundalini instructors, shamans that are just as asleep. They just thought that was a cool looking avatar to wear,
Yeah,
so
they're
just
doing
gonna,
it for show.
Yeah, but they're not really tapped in. They're in their spiritual ego.
Yeah.
So I think that I'm with you. I went a little bit, deeper into that thought. But the thought where you were going is, yes, let's bring in all the people who are having the high level conversations, who are offering their gifts and living life, through heart. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. And the can you talk a little bit about the question when we did that yoga? You did that yoga
On the
retreat
farm?
up here up at
Yeah,
Blue
the
Star
yoga on the farm.
Yeah.
Yoga on the farm where we do dinners and
Did you
whatnot.
Did you had some feedback from that
Oh
program?
man, we're talking. Do we even? This is over a year ago. We didn't even do it this year.
We didn't
So this
because-
is like you're asking my brain, which I don't operate in most of the time, to reach back
So,
over
I mean,
a year.
what
So
did
what
you-
did people say? Yeah, I think they loved it. Like help me remember. Like it was. It was. I mean, it's here's the thing.
I remember there was people all over
There's
the
people all
backyard,
over.
and they were gushing when they come up at the end. And I
Yeah.
remember you were in organization mode because it takes a lot to pull that
Yeah.
event off.
Yeah.
But when they come, we had the
Yeah.
food prepared. We had prayers that we did before we got into
And I
mantra.
just want to acknowledge, like, the farm is such a magical place. And I'm just going to go off here for 1 second because I don't like when we first met. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember. We met through kids. There was
Yeah.
a play group up here, and I was, I had my kids, and I remember I came onto this farm into this property, and I was like, "What is this?" Like,
Yeah.
I was like, "This feels." Something, and all the kids are playing, and I'm just like, who owns this place? What's going on? I gotta talk to I gotta talk to whoever's house this is, and you walked by, and I was like, do you remember this at all?
Yeah,
It was
I
like
do. Yeah,
over
the kids-
by your front doorish kind of area.
Yeah.
I remember just standing there and being like, hey, like this place feels amazing. Like, what is this?
I had
And-
nothing to do with it. It's been
Yeah.
here for a million years, just the
Yeah.
way the hills
Yeah.
was developed. It was a farm.
But you're honoring
for
it.
over
You're
100 years.
honoring it. You're honoring this land. Like there's someone who lives. I don't know your next door neighbor, so I'm just making a blind statement here. But your next door neighbor could, not even realize the magic of this place. I mean, maybe, I'm sure they do at some level, but what you're doing with it, the events that you hold here, the way you share the property, you're doing something with it.
Yeah, I feel guided. I can't take part of the credit. Thank you for saying, but it's honestly, I'm just steward. I feel like a steward.
But you are stewarding it.
Taking care of it,
Just
realizing
say
that I'm just
thank you.
passing.
There's a gift.
Thank you.
There's a gift.
Thank you
There's a gift in
so
what you're doing.
much.
But what I'm saying also is the farm is a beautiful place.
Yes.
So,
I love sharing it,
Yes.
yeah.
And you do share it well. And so for these yogic farm events, we come up. It's so beautiful to sit up here and do yoga. Like, wow. And then to like bring kundalini through that, like double the wow. And
The
then
talks up we can do in the summer upstairs.
Yeah. And then
outside.
the talk that the community has amongst each other, so high vibrational. And then, sitting around some, beautiful foods, amazing. It's like, it's an event.
It is the best. It's the
great.
best to share this, and I think that's really important to make mention. Why the birth of this podcast room came out is because of the need to share. I had an Akashic reading 2 years ago. I think it was. You might even have recommended the woman to me over in Guilford. An Akashic reading. It's
Yeah,
they,
no, I
they
know
give
what
you
it
a
is,
star
but-
chart reading of where you came from, and you essentially give the time of birth that you were born and the date and the time, and then they take your numbers astrologically speaking, and they plug it into this preconceived. Are you familiar with the Akashic readings?
Yes, I'm familiar. Yeah.
So anyway, I said, okay, I'll do it. I didn't know a ton about it, and I went in and I had a reading, and it takes like 3-4 days to get back to you because there's there's an amount of work, the intellectual work that needs to go into filling out your chart. And she said, okay, I'm ready to,
Was big talk in the little house in that reading?
No, well,
ahead.
I mean, in a way
Yeah.
it was. That's where I'm going with
Yeah.
it. So I came in, and she didn't know me from a hole in the wall. wall, and she said, "Okay, well, here's your record." And she said I had 37 past lives. And I said 37. I'm like, I was thinking it was like 400 past lives. So, but I'm like, she's like, she identified it to 37 past lives, and she said the majority of my time in my lives were spent as a rabbi. I was some rabbi. I was a rabbi. I was a monk. I was
Okay.
So
you're a
preacher.
You're a spiritual man or woman, but you're. It sounds like, do you have all men lives? Like, what's going on here?
I don't know. She didn't. Okay. I don't think she was specific on whether or not I was male or woman.
Like think about in that time,
a rabbi, I think,
priest,
is a guy, right?
monk, like they're all going to be like men, but whatever.
And she said I was also even a monk in a cave. She said I was in a cave for years.
You took the easy
meditating.
elevation
And
route.
it's funny because this is reminding me of a dream I had when I was a kid. I should interject this here. I had this dream when I was a kid, right, real little, and it was before, I don't know, 6, 7 years old, and I remember waking up. And I was like, what the heck was that dream, right? And the dream was I was in a desert, which I later realized when I got there, it was Australia, right? So I'm in a desert, and I'm like, this is really weird. It was very arid and dry, and just goes and went on forever. And then I was sitting on the ground, and the sun started to set. And I remember thinking, I got to get up and go inside before it gets dark. So right behind me there was a cave, and I got up and I walked into the cave, and I sat down in the cave about the distance from me and the wall. So I was probably 6 feet inside the cave, and I could see the horizon. So it was, this was the horizon, this was the sky, this was the ground, and the horizon.
Kind of like your backyard here.
So a lot like that, right? It's split. Yeah, there was a split. So the sun drops. It goes like, this is like a 40-second dream, and then the stars and the moon come up, right? And I'm looking out at the stars, and I'm totally peaceful. And that's when I realized, I told my parents when I woke up, I was sitting Indian style, which I was in the lotus. My legs were crossed. I'm like, who knows sitting Indian style? I was sitting Indian style. And I was very peaceful, and my hands were clasped like this, and they were like this in my lap. And I started to see pebbles and dirt on the ground floor start just to vibrate. And I'm just looking at it. It's kind of like that scene from Jodie Foster when she in what was the movie she was in, Contact, when they put her in the spaceship and she had the seatbelt on and she was shaking in the seat, and they couldn't hear her because the communication was all garbled, and she's like, I'm good to go, good to go, and that's what the dream started. It was just impending something's going to happen. So just then the pebbles started shooting inside in the air, and the dust started coming, like I had a vacuum in my hands, and they were coming into my hands, everything, the air, like a vacuum, and it was pulling pebbles and dirt and rocks off the floor, and they were going right into my finger cracks, right into the center of my hand. And then I noticed outside the starlight, the light started to bend, and the light and the stars, everything was bending and going, making this like real bending kind of sound you'd hear in the movies. And then when eventually the walls and everything I was floating in got sucked into my hands, and then I'm floating in the lotus position with beams of light coming out of my hand as I'm floating slightly to the left, cambering in space, and then I wake up. So the dream was basically,
it begs the question of like,
well, I came from...
Is that life, or is that, one of these like the monk in the cave life, paralleling this one?
Right.
Or so, are you like going, but, so...
So when I had the Akashic reading, she went on to tell me, and this ties into the dream, she said that, all these past lives you were out here trying to like preach and tell the word and speak. She goes, it's not orthodox in this life. She says, you're just meant to get up on a box and start talking your truth.
Or sitting a little...
And then,
sit in a little
2
house
years later,
with the big talk
from the little house. And this is my soapbox. So that's just a little pre-life premonition I wanted to share.
Greatness. Yeah. I mean, we're always, that's the thing. When you, I think like this is just coming to me now. This is nothing that I've premeditated on, but I think when you step on the path, at first it's a little shaky. It's like, you feel elevated, but then your life begins to shift.
Yeah.
Like your life has to change because you've woken up. One of the ways I've been saying this a lot, so coming back to mantra in Kundalini, we have a strong base of this mantra, Sat Nam. Sat meaning truth, Nam meaning name. So it's a lot of Sat Naming, like inhaling Sat, exhaling Nam. And when you're vibrating, truth is my name, I am light, I'm beautiful, I'm infinite, I'm pure wisdom, I'm pure knowledge. I'm, like when you're vibrating that all the time, and then, you do it enough times, like you're just kind of vibrating that even in your householder world. You don't have to be on the yogic mat anymore. Like, you should be living the yoga. You should be living these things. But when you're vibrating truth and you're waking up, anything that's not truth on your path is going to fall away.
Right.
And there's times that sucks because you're like, but I liked that person, or I wanted that thing, or, whatever, but it wasn't in your truth. So it has to leave the path. That's where it starts getting really hard. And people, when they talk about like a dark night of the soul, or you see all these memes of like, you think a spiritual awakening is going to be like, but it's really like, because things have to fall off the path that are your truth. But eventually you'll get good enough at it. You'll be like, oh, that had to leave my path. It wasn't part of my truth. Like, kind of like, it wasn't, but what's coming in? What's coming in? And you get excited.
It needs to be emptied before you can put more in it, right? So that's a proverb.
For balance. Otherwise it doesn't work. And,
I love your yoga classes for the fact that it takes the average person, which I consider myself in the average person boat, and it helps you to offset the grind of your daily life, which
pretty quickly.
You don't realize you're in it, until you start to go, what the heck is going on? It's like, I got to, we have chores, we have children, we have houses, we have cars, we have jobs.
And you forget who you are.
You forget who you are.
Who you really are.
Right.
Satnam.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I think the system is designed that way, honestly. I think the system is designed to keep us consuming.
Let's put that as a note. Let's put that as a note for the next conversation. We can go deep into that. But yes, the system.
Well, touching on it, the system is designed to keep extracting money from us. It's like we're taxed at birth, we're taxed at death, and we're taxed beyond.
Yeah,
there's the pharmaceutical companies need to sell their products. The Food and Drug Administration needs to sell their food. And it's a big
the beauty
system.
Products need to be sold. Like, you got to.
People don't. It's a consumer world, and I'm very aware of it lately, especially having kids now that are coming into preteens, and there's a lot of we try to be conscious in the house, but I'd be lying if I told you I was like some ascended master. I'm more just really interested in what the truth is in all situations. I just and I think that the big question is for me has always been, what is this? And I've been asking that since I was a kid too. I'm like, I would say to my parents when I would wake up, I'm like, what is this place? My mom would look at me like I had 3 heads. She's like, Peter, you live here. I'm like, not here. What is this? Like, I saw my dad coming and going every day for 10 hours to go to work. I'm like, where does that guy go? And why is he going there? But I eventually got pulled into the tray of glitter when I was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years old, when I started to get into sports and punishment and reward and schoolwork, and then girls came online. And so I got completely disenchanted with the search for meaning. And I got pulled into the activity of being alive and doing my job, which is a noble one. Being who you are, being true to who you are is definitely important. But if there's some type of there's something else here. It feels like the Truman Show, is what it feels like. And, we're coming and going every day, and most people aren't asking these questions like, why are we doing this? And most people would give you the answer, well, why do you got to know? Or it's not interesting to me. But there's a handful of us that knows that things need to change moving forward into the world, like environmentally, if only. We need to stop fighting with each other. The wars are ridiculous at this point, as far as what are we doing shooting each other?
Why the division?
Yeah, we're all on the same team, Africa is the same people as the United States, as France is, as to Poland, as to, so we really need to understand that. I understand the need that we need to understand that we're one, and this is our planet. And in order to get it together, we need to stop fighting each other. It's like children in the back of the car. It's like, stop hitting your sister, Jesus. I'm like, would you stop? And she's like, I'm like, there's no harmony in the car if the people are fighting. And if you look at it on a big scale, we really need to start doing our part. I'll have to start podcasts, but we should really start acknowledging where we go. And that's what I love about Kundalini, is that you're giving these hour, to an hour and a half breaks for people, as many times as they can handle your class. And I just highly recommend your
Thank you.
class. So
Yeah, thank
you
you.
for doing the work
Yeah, thank you.
to help wake us up is what I'm saying.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
And there's moments where I'm like, am I doing it right? Am I, whatever it is? But I show up in the way I feel called, and yeah, I live from my heart. And if my heart says to teach the kundalini, I do that. Yes.
This is the part where we got to take a quick break because I told my partner who's helping me build this podcast that we need to have sponsor recognition. The people that are paying for all this. So we're going to take a quick break right here for a sponsor, and then we'll come back and finish this up. Sounds good?
Satnam.
Okay, Satnam.
Ready.
Okay, we're back from a quick break with Jedi Jen, I like to call her, from Jai Studios. Welcome back,
Yes.
Jen.
Thank you.
So in the break, we were just talking about different people that inspire us, and Maya Angelou is one of my inspirations over the years. And she says, "You will face many defeats in your life, but never let yourself be defeated." Mm-hmm. I love that quote because one of the things that I've learned over the years is that, if you're perceiving yourself to lose or be defeated, it's actually teaching you every time. It's like, I remember what I was trying to say. So it's fail often, fail forward, and fail off. No, fail often, fail forward, and fail. Oh my gosh.
Feel great. Learn from your failures.
The point is you're learning. Yeah. Fail often, fail forward, fail hard. I guess because you're learning. Failure is basically the fuel,
the mechanism
to move you in a direction.
that brings you into any kind of knowing. You have to. It goes back to that polarity we were saying. Like you have to know dark to know light, right? And like in yoga too. I've been feeling this a lot lately. It's always about in these more spiritual communities or elevated conversations, it's like, let's expand consciousness, let's expand, which, that's what helps to evolve, but there's also the contraction. There's the other part, and it's the contraction, the learning, the crunch that allows for the expansion.
Right.
It has to go together.
The majority of the days feel like 80% of my day is work. It's cleaning the bathroom or making the beds or going on a service call or getting the kids on or off the bus or doing sports. But then there's the 10 or 20% of the time. For me, I like the mornings. Yeah. I like right after the kids go to school and right before in the off season, which I'm in now. I have a few hours before they get back from school. But that's when I can kind of like delve into the possibilities of what else this is, like reinventing yourself. I'm trying to avoid a midlife crisis, I think, and just instead just trying to use my time to go, what's the real purpose? And that's why I keep coming back to the yoga classes and the things that keep us present, like your program, like what you're doing down there at Jai Studios, which is amazing. I love watching you grow because
thank you.
I remember you started this, this
out of my
it was
house.
just a thought out of your
thought, and then classes out of my house, and then teaching in other studios, and then eventually like the actual Jai Studio was born. And
bought your own building. Or bought your own store,
I mean, it's just been but like anything, like this, like anything you put your mind to will grow. And coming back to Maya Angelou's quote was I defeated along the way? Many times.
Yeah, for sure.
Many times. I'm what am I doing?
Yeah.
And this is hard. But I can't remember the exact quote, but don't be defeated. Like you might fail some of the battles, but you will win the whole war if you stay with it.
Right.
That's it.
I think the trick is to anchor. And Tony Robbins, I followed him for a few years back in the mid '90s. He's amazing. He's amazing with his affirmations and the way he physically is able to change your physiology.
He's powerful.
And he talked about setting anchors. So when we fail, or if you fail, don't anchor, I'm bad, or you smash your character. Anchor, now it's time to really try harder, right? So these learning experiences that we're going through, whether it's in relationships or jobs, or as your kids are going through the bumps and bruises of school, you're trying to convey to them the most chatty way. You want to just be almost just...
Well, another quote, as the Buddha said, it's through your mind you create your world. So when you hit your failures, are you going to get stuck there? Like, I'm a failure. I mean, I have many days. I'm sure you do. We all do. Like where I feel like a freaking failure, you know. And then I have other days where I feel like I'm the most badass thing that's ever walked this planet.
I'm on top of the world, Rose.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like, and it's all true. It's all true.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's all part of the, and by true, I mean, it's all part of the great experience here, the divine experience here. But which one are you going to spend more time in? Let's all spend more time in our badass self, you know?
Another quote. There's 2 lions in your head. Is that right?
Which one? Wolves. Which one are you going to feed?
One's a wolf, one's a...
No, I think it's like there's 2 wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf, or a light wolf and a dark wolf.
Yeah.
And which one are you going to feed?
Which one survives?
Yeah, it's the one that you feed.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
Yeah.
So you got any other thoughts you might want to touch base on today?
Where can we, like, there's so many that that are always moving through. It's like which one drops in. You know, again, we could keep going off if we wanted just on the victory thought, you know, what it is to really win at life. And what's your thought? How do you win at life?
Well, once again, I think one of the things that really helps me lately is to take the time equation out of everything. Like, you know, you're always, Sequoia, quote him in every podcast, you're always right where you need to be, brother. And that to me is the step in the right direction to manifesting what you want. Because if you can't constantly feel like you're not enough and you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, then you're not even going to imagine how it possibly could look. So taking the time out of the equation, I think
and you know, again, I want to go off that for a minute, because this is how just being more elevated, you know, doing conscious practices like kundalini yoga, breath work helps, because that experience of lack is so common for all of us. Not enough time, not enough resources, not enough energy. It's all there. But when we realize, this is Yogi Bhajan would teach it this way, at the tip of our nose is the tender charge of the divine. You know, we don't have to go to a gas station every 3-4 days, whatever, to fill up. It's literally right here at the tip of our nose. And when we are fueled up with prana, with life force, with breath, when that is full in our body, it is impossible to feel lack. You have everything you need. You have all the energy you need. So that's the power in doing some, I mean, really, it could be as simple as breath work. It could really be that simple.
So I'm hearing that being as present as you can is the goal, right? No matter what, right?
Being as present, and what's coming to me right now is being present allows you to be in the space of, am I in a space of lack? And if I am, I can do something about it, you know, or what space am I in? Essentially, it's, you know, being present is a deep checking in with yourself. And if I know I'm in an elevated space, it's like, let's go, let's build, let's make things happen. If I'm in a lack space, a lower frequency space, that's the time to go inward, do some healing, do some reflective, you know, to what do I need to do to transmute that energy into something else? Because I don't want to be living my life and, you know, building from that lack place. I want to be building from my most elevated space. So that's the power of presence. Because when you don't have presence, you don't know what you're building from. You're just...
Well, that's it. You're going to miss the whole show if we're stuck in our minds, right? And we're worrying about what happened yesterday or fretting what's happening tomorrow. We're going to miss the... And the
problem is that's... moment. You know, we have so much programming behind, you know, our thinking. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to break programming, habitual thought patterns that we've had our entire life.
First step is to recognize it, right?
Yeah.
First step is you got to be like, whoa, look at my scattered thoughts here.
Yeah, and realizing that present doesn't mean I'm just like, all of a sudden I'm present. It's like you might have a fraction of a moment of presence before it's off again, you know? Yeah. And then it's like, but you get better at bringing it back. And again, if I'm going to highlight kundalini, which I do, that's what I do. I highlight kundalini. What I love about kundalini yoga is, and I think you've had this experience as well, is there's there is a lot going on in the practice. Your breathing, your movement, your mantra. Like your mind doesn't have time to go into story or, leave the now. It's like everything in Kundalini is bringing it more into the now. Now, does it? Yeah, but there's enough going on that brings you back into the body, into the now. Yeah.
And the now is where we're experiencing the gift of life.
And
right?
it's where the action of life is. It's where life builds from.
Right.
It's where life builds from. The vibration of now.
Yeah. So I think if you don't like your story, if you don't like where it's going, if you're in something that's uncomfortable, you can start by, getting present and then starting to imagine, open up, like, what could this be? What could this be? I like Paramahansa Yogananda. I followed him for quite a while, and he was an amazing teacher. He wrote the book Autobiography of a Yogi, and he's always saying, well, he kind of was a mystic, an Indian mystic that kind of jumped into Catholicism as well. So he talks a lot about what Jesus would have said, or
which to me is the true path. The true path is looking at all the masters, because they're all, as we know, pointing towards the same thing, saying the same thing. So yes,
right. And he was saying, Paramahansa would say, always ask where God is. Where are you, God? Where are you, God? Like throughout your day. Yeah. And I find that I tried that practice, and I frequently go back to that, asking the question, where are you? Where are you? Thinking, mantra, meditating, and in between my day, in between going from the house to the mailbox or from the car to the grocery market. You're thinking, when you have free time. And what's the tendency we do now? We pick up our phone and go right to Instagram, or
God's there too. But
that's oh my God, I can't. God,
that's a whole the divine is everything. It's every conversation. It's this right here. It's whoever's listening. It's like, this is the divine. It's everything, but it's remembering that it's everything, and it's not. There's this concept out there that the divine is not in the bad things, and
I think it's been made too froofy, too like woo woo, too like what cult you're gonna join here. It's like. This is a meat and potato program that's going to really show you from a layman's perspective, a perspective. And that's what there's no dogma here. There's no preaching here. It's just hey, let's get curious around what's actually unfolding with us. Yeah. That's why I love what you're doing.
Because if we really want to know what the divine is, if we really want to know.
I don't know. Yeah.
There's, the notion that how can we really know when we're
when you're in the experiment.
When we're in the experiment, when we have a limited perception in this experiment. But to begin to know the divine, there's many ways, to begin to tap in, but it's realizing that there's the one energy, and it's multifaceted through all of us. So whether you find it through your didgeridoo and I'm finding it through Kundalini, and somebody else is finding it through walking in, like the forest, it's like
you can get it.
It don't matter, you could literally just find it, cleaning your toilets. Like if
cleaning, that's a whole nother part.
I just
want
said
to
toilets because that's my hardest.
Windows, mine would be windows.
Windows,
I like to clean windows.
But the things that were like folding your laundry, just the things you're like, oh, this again. It's like that's a beautiful place to find it.
Well, what's the saying they say? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, and then after enlightenment, chop wood.
I said that earlier today, water. So there must be something to that.
It's the same before as it is after.
Yeah. It's how you do the thing.
And that's what we want to talk about. Those are the subjects we're gonna be able to entertain here at Big Talk from the Little House. Yeah. So we're gonna do this with food presentation. We have a segment on improvisational music and instruments from around the world. We're gonna talk about it through everyday householder activities like this, and also the awoken studios like yours at Jai Studio. So I'm glad that you've come in again today. And I think this is a perfect part for us to go, because we don't want to have too much of her awesomeness in one shot. We want to sprinkle this into the program. But I want to thank you, Jen, for coming out today.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.
And how do we get in touch with you if we need to reach out to your studio?
So my studio, it's in Madison, Connecticut. You can always just look on the website, jaiyogacenter.com, and the classes are on that page. You can also, from jaiyogacenter.com, I'm sure there's an email on there somewhere. So you can email me.
And your Instagram?
And then my Instagram is Jai Kundalini. You can DM me there, or just check out what I'm doing. And I have to say, like, I've been saying this so much lately, and I'll never stop saying it. And the community that is growing at Jai is so beautiful, so amazing.
It's fun to watch you grow.
It's like
Yeah.
I've been at this place where I'm like, anybody who walks through that door is just awesome. Like, they're so awesome. And and some people come just, and they don't really, not that they don't want to be part of the community, because you don't have to speak and communicate in community to be held by community. So some people are just coming in there, and that this is their time to be quiet, and they do their thing, and then they leave, but they do feel so held in love. And then there's other people who, they've been quiet all day, they didn't have anyone to connect with, so they come in, and just the connections and the network, it's amazing. So it's a very open, loving community that we love to, if people are vibing with it, they will find it.
Well,
That's where I'm at.
thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
In Satnam. So thank you once again for tuning in. Hopefully you made it through the entire podcast and gleaned some good information that will help make your day a little bit better. If you want to get in touch, and I please encourage you to sign up to our new podcast, subscribe to the channel, and reach out anytime with questions, or if you'd like to be a guest on our program. And that's it from today. Thanks again, Jen. Appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Pete. You're awesome. I love it here.
All
Anytime.
right. Thank you so much. Satnam.
Satnam.
Okay.